were famous in 1984. They put out an album called On Fire that you can look up, and it's really a great record. But Jeff Conley, the lead singer, who's still with us, fortunately, Jeff was, there was a big, I'll just preface this by saying there was a big 60s revival of the, they had sort of a psychedelic movement in LA with bands like the Bangles and the Dream Syndicate and the Rain Parade, bands like that, Green on Red. So it was a neo-psychedelic sort of thing, but the Lyres, along with the Flesh Tones, predated all that on the East Coast. Jeff Conley had been in a band called DMZ in the 70s that had a record produced by Flo and Eddie of the Turtles, and they were the original punk band in Boston. Okay, so Jeff was this masterful keyboardist, songwriter, and they hired me sight unseen over the phone. So reading now for you from my book, chapter 18, and now some, for your reading pleasure, a few select funny, crazy-ass true story. The Lyres Tour Tales from 1988. I thought I'd share a couple of my funny stories from my days in the Lyres. I joined Boston's favorite sons, the Lyres, just after graduating Cleveland State University in August of 1988. My friend Rich Thomas, ex-Kingpins, Floricist, Full-Time Men, and others, told me they were looking for a bassist after he had hung out with Jeff Mono Man Conley on a lost weekend. I called Jeff, and they agreed to hire me sight unseen over the phone. Backstory. I had seen the Lyres with the old Peabody's Down Under in the flats in Cleveland in 1984. Their first album, On Fire, F-Y-R-E, had been released, and it had become a big college radio hit that fall. As I stood watching the band run through their set, I see Jeff, very bipolar and very drunkenly, yelling at the band. He carries on some more, yells at the band some more, has a temper tantrum of some sort, and finishes with some more yelling at the band with no encore. I remarked to Kevin Kelly of the Pink Holes, who happened to be standing next to me at the time, "Man, I'd hate to be in a band with that asshole." Not 4 years later, here I am being met at Boston South Station by that very asshole, Jeff Conley, and the drummer he was yelling at all those years ago at Peabody's, Dave Bass. We all got down to business very quickly, as there was a whole tour of the United States and Canada and a number of local shows to serve as warm-up rehearsal shows for the tour. We had 3 rehearsals, a small show in Connecticut, 1 more rehearsal to learn a radio single, and then a show at the Channel in front of 2,000 people. Cool beans, indeed. That's a Boston joke. So, anyways, okay. So I go from zero to hero overnight. Sorry, bad fit. Well, Old Thickness Boy goes from relative obscurity in the Midwest to famous Boston U.S.-Canadian tour overnight. Me thinketh, I've arrived. This particular lineup featured myself on bass as the Lyres' 9th bassist, replacing Matt Miklos, and of course left off Pete Frame's Lyres Family Tree, which was included in the artwork for A Promise is a Promise LP, the record we were touring on at the time. If you don't know who Pete Frame is, please look him up. Anyways, hence the frosting of the dog's balls spewed here. Oh well, at least I have the stories. Jeff was on keyboards, vocals, glass bottles, screwdrivers, and alcohol. Dave Bass on drums, and God's gift to rock and roll, or at least he thought so, Jack Hickey, ex-Turbines on guitar. Jack passed away a couple of years ago. Rest in peace, Jack. Needless to say, we all got on like oil and water and vinegar. Dave was crazy in a charming kind of way, if there is such a thing. Jeff, though incredibly talented, was an exceptionally high maintenance sociopath, and that's being nice. And Hickey was just full of himself. And me, I was just green to touring with nut jobs and just happy to be working, period. As I could write a whole book about this tour alone, I'll spare you the fine details. We had been on tour in Canada for the past 3 weeks. We had all been at each other's throats for the past few days. As we crossed the border into the USA, we were playing at the Central Tavern in downtown Seattle. As Dave Bass and I slid up to the bar before the show, I told him, if Jeff yells at me one more time, I'm gonna kick the shit out of him. Dave was like, just relax, man, he's a dick, don't let him bother you. Okay, you're right, I'll just chill. I'll just try to chill, I explained. Now, we never used a set list. Jeff used to just call out with a 1, 2, 3, 4. And as we started into the song Soapy, Jeff turned and glared at Dave. You're playing it wrong, Bass, he yelled as Dave started into the intro. Fuck you, as Dave yelled back. As Jeff stepped up to the drum riser to try to grab the sticks out of Dave's hands, Dave pushes Jeff back off of the drum riser, and as he attempts to sit back down on his drum throne, he shockingly ends up falling off his drum throne and the drum riser. As Dave attempts to regain his footing and composure after shoving Jeff, I see Jeff laughing hysterically at Dave's tumble while standing right at mid-stage. As time seems to slow, out of the corner of my eye, I see Dave's 15-pound drum throne launched into midair and aimed straight at Jeff's head. I'm standing less than 10 feet from Jeff as now, I see it as an extreme slow-mo. His head explodes, fucking blam, with a sickening thud, and blood goes flying everywhere as the crowd goes from ah to ooze, like when somebody unplugs a generator, pew. Jeff falls over as far as someone can without actually falling over. Down goes Frazier, down goes Frazier. Still in uber slow-mo. Jeff reels back up like some carnival sideshow midway rubber man, and with blood gushing from an open gash in his face screams, "I'm gonna kill you, bass!" The crowd is freaking out, as we all are on stage. I ask several people to bring towels for Jeff that I hand to him. He promptly proceeds to throw them on the stage, preferring to bleed profusely and show his badge of honor and to show the crowd how his backstabbing band had done him wrong. We played for at least another hour as Jeff continued to bleed for effect. He later required 10 stitches in his face and forehead. The rest, they say, is history. This particular tale has taken on mythic proportions, as I've heard many famous people who were there over the years tell the story, only for me to tell them that I was the bassist on that tour and watch their jaws really drop. As it turns out, many famous grunge-era artists happen to really see that show, including future members of Green River, Pearl Jam, Nirvana, Soundgarden, and the Dwarfs, to name a few. Now there's an answer story for the Seattle incident. Backstory number 2. 2 weeks before I joined the band, Dave had fallen asleep at the wheel and crashed the band's other van just as the insurance had lapsed. Poor Dave. As Jeff had bullied him into buying another van if he wanted to remain the drummer for the upcoming tour I was soon to join. The tragically funny and sad part is we still had roughly 3.5 months on this tour. Yikes. A few weeks later, after playing a very drunken set in Oklahoma City, Jeff, in a wonderful mood after downing a whole bottle of vodka, started in on Dave, who was driving his van off into the night. As we're about 100 miles from Dallas, driving overnight as we often did with no place to sleep, Jeff, "I'm gonna sue you, bass, and get this van for fucking up my face, you asshole." Dave, "Fuck you, Jeff." Jeff, drunkenly, "Fuck you, bass, I'm gonna sue you and get your van for fucking up my face." Dave, screaming and getting very agitated. "Oh, yeah? Well, I can kill us all right now." Hickey and me from the back seats. Dave, no, stop, mellow out, dude, Dave." Dave floors the van. The tack starts to peg. Me and Hickey, "Stop, Dave, no, mellow out, Dave." Dave grabs Jeff by the collar, spitting and hopping ass mad. "You motherfucker, you goddamn motherfucker, I can kill us all right now." Me and Hickey, "Dave, no, stop." With the van flat out, Hickey and myself are still freaking. Dave floors the van. We are starting to careen out of control. "Oh shit, Dave, stop, fuck, no, Dave." Dave again grabs Jeff by the collar. "I'll slit your throat, you motherfucker," repeats it twice more, still speeding and on the edge of oblivion. Hickey and I finally cool Dave down enough to get him to think straight for a moment. As Jeff attempts one blithering bolt of bravado, he fortunately passes out with a "fuck you, babes." He instantly crumples like a cheap suit into the passenger seat. Dave pulls over, still yelling and angry. He shoves Jeff again, muttering, "Fucking cocksucking asshole." "I'll drive," I shout. Needless to say, I survived that tour and many others fraught with glory and desperate abandon. These stories are just 2 of the many of our 4 months together as I made it back to Boston after the tour, and the band played a series of breakup shows as Jeff decided to move the band out and reform it in San Diego, and reform it with a bunch of cool scene mods from out there. The last time I saw them, as we all went about our goodbyes, Jeff just sped off into the night with a bye, Hickey with a later, and Dave, who had agreed to drop me off with all my band gear at the train station, without so much as a goodbye. He bolted without so much as a goodbye. Now, lest you think my tales are all sad and moist with regret, there is some of that. However, I did enjoy my time with the band, and I do respect the other guys I toured with. We were a team as much as 4 guys in a van could be. I am most edified for my experience, and I consider it to be the pinnacle of 1980s pre-Nirvana underground touring, and truthfully, it was a lot of fun. I learned a great deal about human nature, and I got to see the USA and Canada by van. I met lots of kindred spirits, new friends, and visited similar ones. The whole tour was a hoot, and I'm a better person for it. I'm glad I did it, and I would do it again in a heartbeat, truth be told. I recently saw some gig footage of the Lyres on YouTube, and I gotta say, Jeff is still rocking with the best of them. Still yelling at his band and carrying on, but at least he's sober. And we're all a little better for it. I'm happy to have been part of it. I just can't believe that it's been over, I think it's 32, 33 years, something. It's been over all those years that I played with the Lyres. After the band broke up in December of 1988, I returned to Cleveland to start another one of my many paths. And even though many others have forgotten that I was there, I will never forget my time in the Lyres. So good times were had by all.